Hey, this is Pastor Kevin. I want to make a quick video about being confused about making decisions. I know sometimes we get insecure about making decisions. We weigh our options, and as believers, we want to know that we're being led by God. We want to be making decisions that are in keeping with God's plan for our lives. We don't want to miss God's will. We want to make decisions that keep us flowing in God's will for our lives. Sometimes if we don't feel God's presence or sense His leading, we get a little insecure and anxious about making a decision regarding buying a home or moving or whether to end a relationship or keep on going in a relationship or what to major in college. I want to tell two quick stories here today. When I was in college, I was first in a 2-year community college, and I knew I wanted to be a pastor. I had graduate school, seminary in mind, in my vision for my future, and I knew I wanted to be a pastor. But I wasn't sure what to major in. And I was taking classes for my first year, almost my second year, and I was planning on transferring my credit to a 4-year university, and I just couldn't land on a major. And I had some interest in psychology and philosophy and communication, so I began to say, well, maybe I'll major in communication or philosophy or education. And I began to think about majoring in education. So one day I was walking across the campus, and my philosophy professor, with whom I had 3 classes, he began walking from the opposite direction. He began walking my way. We met up and began walking and talking, and he asked me when I would graduate, and I mentioned how I would be transferring my credit to a 4-year college, and he asked me what my major was, and I said my major was going to be education, and he knew I wanted to be a pastor. So he said, you don't want to major in education. You should major in something like philosophy. And so we said goodbye, and he went his way, I went my way. So I didn't major in philosophy. No disrespect to any philosophy majors. But that conversation got me thinking, and it got me to decide to major in psychology. And the more I took classes in psychology, the more I found an interest and passion in psychology. And I transferred to the 4-year college, and I got my degree in psychology. But that conversation got me on the right track. And what I want to say in this video is that if you're beginning to veer in the wrong direction, God knows it. If you're staying close to God, He will bring somebody or some experience your way to get you back on the right track. Years later, I was attending a church with my girlfriend. It was a small, independent, charismatic church. One day, my grandma, out of the blue, asked me to go to lunch. We went to lunch, which didn't happen very often. And in the course of this conversation, my grandma said that I needed to be in a church that had a future, quote unquote. And so we talked for a while, and at the end of the conversation, I felt inspired to go back to the church that I used to belong to. So, long story short, my then girlfriend, who is now my wife, and we both left the church we were at, and I went to the church that I had been going to since I was a kid. And that church is still going strong. And now I'm a pastor, and I've been a pastor for 22 years. And I've been the pastor of my current church for 14 years. And the church that my girlfriend and I belonged to at that time does not exist, no longer exists. So the point is, my lunch conversation with my grandma got me on the right track. And so that's two of many experiences that I've had in my life in which I was beginning to make decisions that were taking me away from God's plan for my life. And God sent me someone. God sent me someone, and I had a conversation with that someone. And that conversation got me back on the right track for my plan, for God's plan for my life. So God can use anybody to keep you or get you on the right track. He used my philosophy professor. He used my grandmother. And I'm saying that if you stay close to God, you keep praying, and you keep an open mind and an open heart, with your heart intention to live out God's best for your life, then you don't have to worry about going the wrong direction. You don't have to be anxious if you don't sense or feel God's presence as you begin making decisions. You don't have to be insecure about whether or not you're in God's plan for your life. If you stay close to God and you're making decisions from your heart, your good intentions, then you have nothing to worry about. You have no reason to worry about missing God's best for your life, or going in the wrong direction and missing out on God's plan or will for your life. If you begin, like I did, making decisions that are taking you away from God's best for your life, He will bring in some person, some conversation, or some experience, some sermon, some Bible verse that will get you back on the right track for your life. Does that make sense? I hope so. So be encouraged, fear not, don't be worried, don't be anxious or insecure. You have nothing to worry about. You have no reason to be insecure. God's got you. And as long as you keep an open mind, open heart, and follow the leading in your heart, then you're not going to miss God's best for your life. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please give a like and subscribe. God bless.